today's episode is about the art of the pro wrestling commentator. We just all heard the big news that Joe Tessitore from ESPN is going to be a play-by-play guy for the WWE. Another attempt at a mainstream major sport commentator moving into the world of pro wrestling. But we're going to talk about the art of commentary and how important they are. So, Bully, let's start with you, especially in your Hall of Fame career. Who were the commentators that you felt best explained and best described your Hall of Fame career?
Before we go any forward, I'm going to say good luck to this Joe Tessitore guy. I'm really not familiar with him, but it's like history has taught us and dictated to us, and in the world of pro wrestling, whenever they bring in a sportscaster from the, quote unquote real world, baseball, football, wherever, and you put them at the announce table, they typically don't work out in the world of pro wrestling, do they, Dave?
You know what, Bully, you're right. Mike Adamle, Jimmy Smith, Adnan Virk, those are probably the biggest examples recently that just didn't work when they came into the world of pro wrestling.
And then we take a look at how the world of pro wrestling turns to itself, whether that's like a booker who's on announce or anybody else. The tall kid that Tommy used to work with. What's his name?
Vic Joseph.
Vic Joseph. That seems to always work out a little better. I'm not a huge fan of the outside sportscaster coming into our world, because it takes them a while to get on board, learn everything about what we do. And I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. But good luck to this new guy, Joe. Hopefully it works out for him and he brings something to this SmackDown announce desk. As far as my career is concerned, I'm going to do an overview of how important the announce table is to a professional wrestling match. I think a lot of talent take for granted what goes on at announce, as the announce table might be a separate entity from the actual wrestling in the ring, when it has to work in conjunction with. Those men and women at the announce table help to tell our stories in the ring. Anybody can sit there and tell you about moves. Anybody can sit there and go tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag, body slam. But it's the announcers who help tell the stories about why anybody's expertise is the tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag, body slam. Helps to bring forward the animosity that two wrestlers might have in the ring. Helps to tell the story of how we got to this particular match. Helps to tell the story of how they spoke to individuals earlier in the day about the mindset of their match. So the announce table works hand in hand with painting the picture, the broad picture for the wrestling fan about what's going on in the ring, and how we the wrestlers and the company want the story to be told and understood. I got to work with greats like a Joey Styles, who worked a one-man booth. Now, as great as Joey was at calling action, to me, it was JR and the King who really told the stories, especially JR. JR with, classic calls in the history of my career. Moving forward into TNA, Don West and Mike Tenay, especially Mike Tenay. And I enjoyed working with individual announcers and asking them, please help tell this story. I'm not sure if the fan base is going to understand what I'm trying to say in this moment in time in the ring. Please help paint that picture. Please help tell that story. Please help convey that message. And that's what good announcers are supposed to do. Were there times that Jerry the King Lawler was more interested in hitting his one-liners than telling the story? Yes, but Jerry was also very intricate to the show because he brought an entertainment factor to the announce table, and he balanced out everything that JR was trying to do. So my broad stroke answer is commentary is so important. I think Vic Joseph and Booker T do a really good job at NXT telling us the stories about some of the talent that we might not know. I'm a big fan of Taz at the announce table. Taz is very, very underrated in my opinion, because Taz brings the credibility of the wrestler in the ring and can break things down. When I hear Taz talking about a certain hold and how a certain hold may break your arm or snap a leg, and then talks about how he shared the ring with somebody and what it was like to be in there, and then have him help bring the stories forward. That creates helps paint an entire picture, gives me a full 360 of the match that is happening in front of me. So this is a master's class for younger wrestlers also, as much as it is for our fan base. I encourage younger wrestlers that are listening to this to work with your commentary team. And if your commentary team is green like you or a novice like you, tell them what you want to say. You know that when you're doing a body slam, you want the people to know that that's a body slam. Tell the announce table to help back that up with, so-and-so wrestler has been working day and night in a dojo to perfect their body slam. It'll make things mean that much more.
Makes sense to me. And it also sounds from what you're saying, Bully, that probably the analyst is the most important job of any of them, other than the play-by-play announcer. Because that's really the analyst that's going to tell the story about what you're trying to accomplish in that match. So maybe to Joe Tessitore, if being a fan and being such an accomplished play-by-play man, as long as he sticks to his role and you have a great analyst with him, this combination could work.
It could, but history has told us that it doesn't. I enjoy doing play-by-play on Busted Open After Dark when the main event is normally running longer than 10 p.m. Eastern. But the pace of the match is so quick that I feel that's all I can do is do play-by-play plus throw in a little bit of levity here and there. I'd love to be able to call a match on my own where I can tell you what just happened in the ring as far as call a move set or two, but then be able to say, hey, I know that, Will Ospreay has been working on that move this past week because he saw a deficiency in Bryan Danielson's game, and he knew that this move would be able to affect Danielson in a different way. When that play-by-play and that analyst are able to come together with the work that is going on in the ring, with the match that is going on the ring, you're painting the perfect picture for the fan. There's nothing that they don't understand. I remember back in the day, I'm sure you guys will agree with this, one of the things that I hated about commentary is when there was a match in the ring and commentary was talking about something else. And I know commentary wouldn't be talking about something else because they were doing it on their own. They were being told to do that. And this was something notorious in the WWE back in the day, where you would get, I don't know, D'Lo Brown wrestling, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but meanwhile they were telling you what was coming up later in the night between Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Hulk and Savage are the main event, but D'Lo and Hacksaw are just as important in this moment in time. And I always thought it was disrespectful to the wrestlers in the ring working their asses off if commentary was not talking about them.
I agree with you there, Bully. Mark, to Bully's point, in your career, the analyst and the commentator, extremely important, especially trying to explain the story that you're trying to do inside the ring.
I always love the fact that if I was telling a story in the ring, that somebody like a Michael Cole, who I compare Michael Cole in wrestling announcing to you, Dave, in radio. Y'all are balanced. Y'all could do color commentary. Y'all could do the analyst role. You could do the brass tacks, calling the holes. Like, there's no weakness. The only weakness that you and Michael Cole share is y'all weren't wrestlers. But in that, you went and got in the ring. You wanted to see what everything felt like. Then you had a couple of matches with Thunder Rosa. And then you started getting involved in matches at other shows. Michael Cole put on some tights, went out there and took bumps so he could see what it feels like, and got in the ring and did stuff. I have a lot of respect for that. There are people that are going to criticize people that come into our business like Bully just did. Well, this person comes in, there's always an anomaly. Look at Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee came in, and he's one of the top 10 announcers in the world today, and maybe of all time. There's some people that I would put Pat McAfee in front of that call wrestling for years. And not just because his cachet and his popularity. I'm talking about what he says, how he calls the matches, the passion in which he calls those matches with.
And here's the interesting part, Mark, with Pat McAfee is Pat McAfee's not the play-by-play guy. Michael Cole is. Pat McAfee's actually the analyst, and he's somebody that doesn't come from the world of pro wrestling.
Exactly. And, you know, like I always admired the fact that, you know, I watched the old match that I had with Undertaker. And yes, I watched my old matches back because I want to see where I was. I love me some me.
I do, man. I love I love celebrating my birthday, Mark. I love celebrating me some me.
Damn it, I want my birthday every week. But I gave the Undertaker a running power slam. And this is after really like putting the work on his ass. And I covered him and he kicked out, and I was like, shit. That's why he's the Undertaker. He's pretty damn good. And I was able to give him, I'm the only person, as far as I can think of now, that caught him when he does the walk down the rope. And
the old school?
The old school. I caught him, put him on my shoulder. He slipped behind, hit the rope, big boot. And then I went and gave him a standing suplex that ended in a splash, and he kicked out. And now I'm starting to get frustrated. And the announcer, Michael Cole, said, man, that would have finished 99% of the people on the roster, but not the Undertaker. And then he said, look, what is Mark Henry doing? And he started building it up. That I started going, I dragged the Undertaker to the corner, and I'm looking around, and I'm climbing the rope, Dave. Oh my God, Mark Henry is desperate. He's climbing up the ropes. What is he gonna do? And now you got people on the edge of their seat like, oh shit, what is he doing? That's what the announcer's job is, to accentuate the action that's going on in the ring, also educate that this is not normal.
Exactly.
That dude don't do that. The fuck is he doing on the top?
Well,
rope?
What you just explained is beautiful. Like the first two times that the Undertaker kicked out, that's something that you normally do. That is beaten every opponent you stepped into the ring with. So now you got to do something completely out of character of Mark Henry, something that you normally would ever do, but it's desperation because you feel like that's the only thing that could beat the Undertaker. You're right. That's what a good commentator would do.
And a good announcer does that. And I hope that when Joe comes in, I know he'll get the tutelage, because the WWE never brings anybody in and don't say, this is the way we do it. I don't give a fuck what you did elsewhere. This is what we do. And you're going to do what we want, or you're going to get your future endeavors letter. Am I wrong? Am I talking to the wall?
No, you're correct. And you painted, listen, as somebody who's listening to you speak, you painted a great word art of what you were doing, because I started envisioning it. And then I also was like, man, why is the second rope on the bottom and that top rope, how's it going to hold him? Like literally, you did such a great job of that, but that's what the announcers are supposed to do.
Yeah.
If you talk, Bully's talking about the history of wrestling, right? If I go back, it's and Mark said there's anomalies, right? Gordon Soley, I went and did some research. Like he called stock racing and boxing. Then I think of Bill Mercer. Bill Mercer was the radio guy for the Cowboys. And Dave Brown, the weatherman from Memphis. But if you think about this, they're calling stuff live. Michael Cole, we all saw it. Michael Cole was in either Beirut or somewhere during war. This is live action that they're having to call. It's a big difference if you're sitting there. And it's also, Dave, as you know this, because you control at times three very, very different egos and people. You're the lead. You have to feed us stuff. And you know how much all of your announcers here like to eat, but you feed us stuff and hope for, or sometimes if I don't have a question, you pick it up because you're our lead host. Myself, same as Bully. I had Joey Styles, who should be in the Hall of Fame, doesn't get enough credit because he was a first of doing it by himself.
Not get enough credit.
Did it by himself. And then even Joey said, I learned so much from Vince McMahon and how they taught me how to be better as a commentator. Then I go to WWE. Listen, I did not get the push that I wanted, right? Or I can't even say, I didn't change, but my bosses did, and they saw something different in me. But one man who gave me credibility when my company did not was Jim Ross. Here's Tommy Dreamer. He's tougher than a $2 steak. Tommy Dreamer is known for his heart and his passion. Not this version of what you're seeing here, but he's talking about what I was somewhere else. And when I needed that boost, he gave it to me. And then another thing that elite announcers do, and this is again from JR, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Let the moment just seep in and let's absorb, because he's like, I'm a fan. And if you think of JR's journey, he's it. I was a straight up fan. Now I'm doing throwing in this thing. I was a ring announcer and now I'm thrown into this all stuff. An amazing journey, right? And then you get people who were fans. The Mike Tenays did a great job of also giving credibility through history because they are the lead. And then, listen, Corey Graves does a great job. Vic Joseph, to me right now, is the best because he is trying to give credibility to wrestlers that don't have the credibility yet because they're not in the business as long. And then even when surprises show up and all this stuff, he's is one of the greatest calls he ever said, it's Dana Ash by Elegance, because he's acknowledging when Jordan Grace and TNA, this is what she was to you, but no, this is what she is today. He also has to deal with Booker every day. And Booker at times doesn't even, he doesn't say words. He does not say words that are in a dictionary.
Yeah.
But Booker is amazing at showing emotion and being Booker. But Vic has to sit there just think about Vince McMahon when he was a commentator. He had to deal with not only Randy Savage, Bobby Heenan. He had to deal with all these different people, Jerry Lawler, and they're kind of semi-shooting on him, but he's also got to carry on with the show. So I think it's one of the hardest jobs. Listen, I did it for WWE on Heat. They would make me do international Heat. Why? Because I was local. And I went in there and coach another guy who did a great job. And I had preparation and all these notes, and coach was just speak in sound bites, and we're really not allowed to talk about wrestling. And I was like, wait, what? Yeah. And this is me coming from ECW where this is all, and he's like, yeah, no, we're not allowed to do that. Whenever there's a cover, I'm just going to interrupt you. I got to go 1, 2. That's really, and to Bully's point, I'm sitting there and watching D'Lo Brown wrestle a Stevie Richards, or like all these guys during, the Alliance or Velocity era. Like, I'm watching all these guys, and they're not giving a crap about it because they're promoting, and tonight you're going to see, or on the pay-per-view you're going to see, and it was wrong. But the business has changed and adapted, because and I couldn't believe that was the mantra, because if I don't care about the people that I'm watching, why should the audience?
Yeah.
I watch every sport. Baseball at times can be a boring sport if you don't like it. I love listening to the announcer feed to the man who played the game on as simple as a foul ball. Or the Mets, you have Keith Hernandez sitting there and then he analyzes it. And he's like, see how he just stepped back? Oh, look at his foot. Or then a pitcher, you have Ron Darling. Oh, you see, well, he's not spinning the ball because the way he holds it. And he's like, man, I'm a baseball mark. Football is an action fast game. Hockey, basketball. Baseball has its low points, but the lead carries the show. I think Michael Kay does a great job as well. And then they tell their stories. When you're not talking about the game that you're watching, I'm changing the channel. And the same goes for professional wrestling. It is key. It is key to have interest in your product and also to see fans. I loved Michael Cole when you see him standing. I feel like Michael Cole has had a second career in WWE, because you get to show his enthusiasm. And Michael Cole for a long time was hated, but thankfully we're getting a better version of Michael Cole. And Dave,
people are finally appreciating what he's
correct.
been able to bring to the table.
It is going to be a hard transition, because Dave, we this past week we interviewed Kalani Jordan. We've interviewed Kurt Angle, people who come from outside our world to come and just. I'm being taught something.
Mark Henry, I talk to him every week too.
I come from something I don't know, and then I'm being thrust on a live show. The NXT kids, they are doing it great because of the time in their business that I wasn't prepared for. Even Dave, I have leaned on you. Mark has leaned on you. Bully has leaned on you. We joke about it and whenever I do a seminar, I tell people we were blessed to have Paul Heyman in our lives. Why? I was terrified to talk, and I just spoke quickly so I could get it over with. Bubba had a stutter, and Taz was silent. And we all make a lot of money speaking. And that was Paul Heyman constantly giving us the ball. You gave us the ball, Mark Henry.
You make a lot of money?
Now I do.
You make a lot of money. They jipping me there.
No, you used to make a lot of money. Now it's from how you used to. That $1 million a year for 10 years. You know.
Oh,
man.
stop it!
Jeez,
bullshit.
But anyway, it's. I hope he does a good job. It's a hard job because there's so much going on in such a small time.
Mark, I feel bad for you. The shit that you must have gone through from these wrestlers, man. I'm telling you.
I got tortured.
I wasn't friends with him then. I didn't know him.
Tortured.
I was making nothing. He's making millions. I hated him.
Tortured.
That's
all I would hear. He could slam dunk a basketball. He's so athletic. He can lift weights.
Odd.
Different.
No, but Mark, seriously, you must have got a lot of shit from these people.
I did. You know who was one of my confidants?
Who?
Michael Cole. Michael
Nice.
Cole used to pull me aside when he first started, and he used to say, "Hey, man, it ain't always going to be like this." He's like, just listen, learn everything you can learn, and don't let one person affect you, because and he explained the bigger picture. I couldn't see it because I was in it. I was living it. I was on it.
Great answer. And none of us could, right?
No. And he was like, imagine this. In about 3 or 4 years from now, you working against the best guys, and you're in the main event. And Jim Ross, and this is how it tells you how it proceeds. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are talking about you. Like I'm telling you, my career was not just mine. It was a lot of people's. you know, me and Michael, like I chose Michael not because he was my friend, but because I know how good he is. And the announce table discussion is super important. And this is the master's class. And I always say that I want more wrestlers to listen to this show over fans listen to this show, because of the lessons are so personal that they almost at times feel like, damn it, you're giving them too much. You're saying too much. And the reasoning behind it is I feel like I'm talking to the wrestlers. So I'm willing to give more. But I said from the outset, man, I almost feel uncomfortable saying all of this. So like it's the show that the fans are getting from the master's class. If you put all of the master's classes that we've done and put them in a box set and put all of them for sale, it should make millions.